Hello, Lisa. Could you tell me a little bit about how long you've been teaching with AIM?
I've been teaching with AIM for 5 years, but I've been a core French teacher for 10 years now.
Wonderful. So you've been teaching for 10 years. And core is?
Core French is 40 minutes of French a day with English first language students.
Okay.
And the students that I teach do not have any family background of French.
Okay. Wonderful. So yesterday we heard Dr. Krafton speak about compelling input and the affective filter and comprehensible input and all that wonderful research that he's done. Could you speak to any of that and the AIM classroom?
Absolutely. In regards to the affective filter, with AIM, the methodology encourages the whole group of students to speak together. The teacher's gesture supports the class to be able to speak as a group orally. So those students who are a little more shy or reserved, they feel supported by their classmates, and they also never feel centered out. Even if I have a student come up with me at the front of the room, the whole class speaks with that student. So everyone is learning at the same time and supporting each other through that.
Wonderful. Can you share with us any perhaps specific classroom experiences where you've seen students do something extraordinary, where maybe in your first 5 years of teaching with traditional methods you did not experience?
Absolutely. My students have gained more knowledge of French than I've ever seen any of my students previously acquire. My grade 2 class, for example, I always start all of my classes out with "Comment ça va aujourd'hui?" How are you today? And even though my grade 2s don't have a lot of former language skills in French, if they offer me a response in English, I will then use the gestures and the pared down language to help them find an equivalent sentence in French to share their ideas with the class. So one day a little girl came in and she said to me, "Oh, ça va bien aujourd'hui. I'm doing great today." She said, "Parce que hier j'ai acheté a doll."
So j'ai acheté is I bought in the past tense.
Yeah, yesterday I bought a doll. So I said, "Oh, ça c'est fantastique. That's great." So I asked the class, "Comment est-ce qu'on dit? How do you say doll en français?" So some of them said Bratzilla, which already in itself is amazing because they're finding other ways to maneuver around the language. And when I gave them the word for doll, which is poupée, the entire class just roared in laughter. And every writing piece that we did after that as a class or independently, the kids were trying to incorporate that word into their writing. So it's definitely a word they'll never forget, and it was a really fun experience for them.
It's amazing how with AIM there's so much emotional real estate. There's so much excitement, and I think that really helps propel them into acquisition.
Absolutely, and because they're able to talk about things that they want to share, it's not like a traditional program where you have a theme and your whole class is based around, talking about the underwater ocean,
right?
Which they'll have no connection with maybe. With AIM, if kids want to talk about the underwater world, then they can pull that into your conversation, and you can find ways to maneuver around that so that those kids feel like they're talking about the things that are near and dear to their hearts, and the rest of the class is still learning from their classmates as well.
That's wonderful.
One of the best experiences, we were chatting earlier, I have a student, a student with autism who never wants to work in groups, never wants to work in partners. He's been in our school since grade 1. He's now in grade 4. And this year, with the seat work activity, or the IPG activity,
IPG is?
In independent partner group work, there was a group of boys who I asked them if this particular student could sit with them. So although the student with autism wasn't speaking in French, the other boys were reading the questions together and responding to the questions together, and very much encouraging the student with autism to follow where they were in their worksheet. And when he threw his papers up and said, "I don't want to do this anymore," the 4 boys looked at me to intervene, and I said, "Well, no, Vezi, go ahead, you have to encourage him. This is your group." And they did. They were able to get him back on track, which that was a huge success in his learning abilities, as well as a huge success for those boys to feel that, wow, you know, it's always the teacher intervening to get things to go the right way for the student, and we did that, and they were
Right.
so proud of that themselves.
And
so.
they themselves were able to do that remaining in French.
In French, yeah, all the time in French.
That's amazing. So not only do you set up the classroom with all of these great routines, but then those routines involve students teaching students and helping students and correcting each other in a positive way, and then you throw in students with special needs and you bring them in, where in other traditional settings they may just be kind of sitting there and not involved.
Exactly. I have a nonverbal student who recognizes the routines of the AIM classroom now, and the minute that I put on the song, although it's not scripted in AIM to do the song every day, I do it specifically for the student, because the minute he hears the song, he gets up and watches the computer screen, and then initially he was looking behind the computer screen to see if the people were there. He started to recognize some of the characters in the puppets that the kids were drawing on their desk, and you could see that he was making those connections, although he couldn't actually share that with us. But it was very apparent for myself and his educational assistant that these connections were happening, and how could we then pull on that for his own daily learning. Very exciting.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the Summer Institute. It looks
Thank
like
you.
a beautiful day.
Thank you.